Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome again Jasper Carrott.
Thanks very much, thank you. Well, what a coincidence. It's the same audience as last week. They're going to cotton on, you know, aren't they? They're not daft, you know. Can't you move seats or something? Can you wear a hat? That's it. You can show off. You weren't laughing last week. That's it. Right. Show me a home where the buffaloes roam, and I'll show you a house full of cow dung. No. Don't start clapping, I'll throw fish. I don't know whether, not too sure where you all come from, but have you noticed how local radio is taking quite a hold these days? Because like a couple of years ago we never used to have any, did we? And now you've got, well, there's two types of local radio station. There's the BBC ones, and there's commercial radio. And in London it's Capital, in Manchester it's Piccadilly, in Birmingham it's BRMB. Oh, we've got some people from BRMB. Yeah. Yes, I don't know what it stands for, BRMB. I think it's Brum Radio, and they forgot the U. And it's strange. It's very funny. I mean, I think anything like that in its embryonic state is amusing, and I think the adverts are very funny. And put a dab of brill cream on your stairs and watch your granny bounce. But what I think is funny is that, I mean, commercial radio, local commercial radio, I mean, a lot of local firms use it for advertising, but I mean, a really good quality advert costs a lot of money, you know, a few £100. I mean, the local butcher's not going to pay out £200 to have an advert made, is it? I mean, he gets his son with his woolly cassette out from under the bed and, you know, knocks one out for his old man. And you hear things on BRMB like, "Good to have Dad for your chops!" I used to work for Radio Birmingham at one stage. I used to run a folk programme there, and it was interesting really, because they wanted to do this folk programme and they called me in to do the comparing, you see, and I said, "What are you going to call it?" And they said, "Oh, been really thinking about it. Whoa, got this super name. It sums up the whole of the folk music movement and the effect of the acoustic guitar upon the music," and they called it Folk Club. Snappy, huh? I thought, oh, great. And it was a real weird show, because like they advertised it as it was the first Tuesday in the month every 4 weeks. Right. But when they had this 1 month with 5 Tuesdays, they hadn't got a clue. They played half the show on and then the rest of it on the following Tuesday, and then it got lost, and then no one could keep up the sequence, and it just got haywire. And there was a game at Radio Birmingham saying, "Guess when Folk Club is on?" The Radio Times one, they got it right twice in about 18 months. But I had to pass a medical. Yes, to do. And I'd only ever had one medical in my life before, and that was at school. And you know how thorough a school medical is. Eh? They get through about 800 kids in half an hour. Eh? You'd run through the gym with your tongue out. You fall over, you're blind. And I had to go and see this doctor, and he was like an old guy, and I came in and he said, "Right, Mr. Carrott, you go to do all these tests here," and I was doing all the chopping of the leg bits and coughing, and I enjoyed that. I've got to admit it. I enjoyed it. Get it where you can. Reading all these silly card things, you know, blix-a-six, mix-six. And I went through it like a dose of salt, no problem, the whole test, until right at the end. He said, right, Mr. Kelly, he said, I'm going to test your water now. I said, pardon? He said, I'm going to do a urine test. Terrible word, isn't it? Test. Well, what do I do? He said, well, I want a sample of your water. I said, where? No, it's an old joke, but really, truly, he did. He said, like, I want it in the beaker on the shelf there. I couldn't believe it, you know. And I thought he was playing me along, you see. And I said, well, you know, I mean, if you can get me a stool, I'll be all right. So he hands me this beaker down. And it was a bit unfortunate, really, because I was having this medical, and it was just after the dinner hour. And I'd been drinking with a few friends, you know, they'd about 6 pints of brown and mild, you know. And, well, he should have had a bigger beaker, I mean. When you start, you can't suddenly stop, can you? Turn it on and off. And it was all going all over. My bloody carpet! And he gets this litmus paper and starts stirring it round. And I said, wouldn't you like a spoon? Don't be silly. I said, wait, he said, it's all right. He said, it'll come out blue. And it was bright orange. He says, good heavens, that can't be right. Pass some more. I think I'm a fountain or something. You can't double take just like that, can you? And I was sort of like thinking about waterfalls and streams. Oh, come on. I said, I can't help it. I can't help it. He said, here, have some water. I said, here, have the bloody jug. Go and take a walk around the grounds. So I'm walking around all these great big industrial grounds with this great big jug of water, and all the girls are waving from the windows. Yo, yo! What are you doing? You'd never believe it. And he tested it again, and it was orange, you see. And he said, good, he said, I think I've got sugar in the water. I said, that's easy. It could be. It'll stop you drinking. It's serious. So he sent me to hospital. I had to go to the hospital the next day and have a blood test, you see. And he said, I want you to go to the hospital and have a blood test, he said. And he said, what I want you to do as well is to take a sample of your water with you. I said, right. So I woke up the next day, and I was looking around for a container. I hadn't got a clue, I mean, and I got a Tate and Lyle bag. Well, that's a bit useless, isn't it? And in the end I found a Scotch bottle. One of those square ones with the crooked label. And I filled that up, you see. And I put it in a brown paper parcel and went on the bus to the hospital. And I got off the bus and I walked up to the gate with my card and showed the commissionaire. And I suddenly realised I'd left the parcel on the bus going down the road. And I thought, oh, God, no. You know, like the biggest loser of all time is going to find that, aren't they? Take it to his mates. Who's for Scotch? Oh, me, please, Frank. Cheers, Frank. Wonderful, Frank. Tastes just like piss, doesn't it? I've never had it back, I'll tell you that much. And funny enough, there's a sequel to it as well, because I finally went back home. I had to go back home again and go the next day. And the only thing I could find was a giant disinfectant bottle, an immense thing. So I it was only about that. So anyway, I took it, you know, and like put it in a bag and clutched it, and I got off and went to the hospital. And they were doing these blood tests. Because it was an emergency blood test, I was in the antenatal clinic. Because that's where they do blood tests all the time. So they sent me to the antenatal clinic. And so I breezed into this sort of room, and there's all these pregnant women sitting. Oh, there's me with me parcel. Morning. And the nurse came out, you know, she was going, Mrs. Cartwright? Yes. Mrs. Robinson? Yes. Mrs. Carrott? Yes. Oh, I'm awfully sorry. You're here for a blood test? Yes. Brought your sample? Give it to the nurse, please. We don't want the bag. Great big giant disinfectant. And these pregnant women went, falling all over the place. 4 of them were in labour when I left. True story again. This is local radio. This is a true story. I went a while ago. I had a certain success with a single record, and it was a strange record because a lot of people think that the record was sold on a thing called Funky Moped, which is not strictly true. It hardly sold a light on Funky Moped. You had to turn it over, and the B-side sold the record, and it was a thing called Magic Roundabout. Right. No, please, no. And the trouble was, Magic Roundabout itself was banned from the radio, for obvious reasons. But at the time, when the record first came out, when the single first came out, it was the first record I ever made. And the record company obviously have to promote singles. And they have a promotions man, you see. And they said to this guy, you've got this bloke coming down from Birmingham called Jasper Carrott, and he's made this new single called Funky Moped. He's getting really excited, you know. Last week Elton John, this week it's Jasper Carrott. Great, yeah. So, like, you know, basically all I've got to do is take him around the local radio stations and plug the single, because that's how you get singles plugged, you see, particularly with the local station. So we went trolling off down the south coast, and we'd done a couple of stations, and then we went to this one station, and I won't tell you where it was, but it was a BBC one. And local radio is very short start as well. I thought I'd point that out. Like the bloke who does the epilogue does the sport. You know, cleans up after everybody's gone. And this one bloke also did the Housewives show in the afternoon. And it's live out on the air, you know, like, and they see dozens of people with new singles every day. I mean, it's nothing new, you see. And it gets a bit like a conveyor belt. So, like, this promotions rep drags me into this station. I sit down there, and the bloke's on the air gabbling away. And he said, well, we just had a visitor into the studio, and we'll be talking to him as soon as this next record finishes, which is Gracie Field singing Twist and Shout. He said, good afternoon. He said, and who are you? And the promotions rep said, it's Jasper Carrott. Because I hadn't learned to talk properly by then. He said, right, Jasper. He said, where are you from? I said, Birmingham. He said, oh, Birmingham, eh? Where it always rains. Yes. He said, right, we're going live onto the air, okay? Right, and we have in the studio Jasper Carrott, a gentleman who's come all the way from Birmingham, where it always rains. Oh yes. And what brings you to the area, Jasper? And I said, well, you never admit that you're plugging your single. That's the one thing you must never admit. And I said, well, I'm just opening up an Army and Navy stores. He said, really? Yes. And he went into this deep, involved conversation, like, you know, how tall are you and what's your granny's name? And he said, have you got any records out at all, Jasper? And I said, well, it's what a coincidence. I've just released this new single. He said, oh, have you got one with you? I've got about 10,000. So I gave it to him. And he said, right. He said, is this the first time in the area? I said, it is indeed. He said, right, the first time in the area has Jasper Carrott singing Funny Moped. I said, no, it's Funky Moped. He said, pardon? I said, it's called Funky Moped. Is it? What? Yeah, sorry, yes. So he said, no, that's Funky Moped by Jasper Carrott. Well, Jasper, blah, 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 blah. Some more chat. And he said, well, thank you very much for calling into the studios, Jasper. Wonderful to see you. All the success with the single. He said, and just before you go, we'll play the B-side of your latest single. Well, I tried to stop him. I said I wouldn't try that. Too late, it was on. And what amused me more than anything was that there's a lead-up to the record. It's not a song, it's just a sketch of Magic Rain. And I lead in by saying, I pinched it from the BBC, and that and how everybody at the BBC talks like that all the time. And he listened to that and he went, yeah. And very confident he said, do you know, Jasper? He said, it's so true. Everybody around here talks like that all the time. I couldn't get me breath. I know. Anyway, he started listening to this single, you know, and he was chuckling away. Most amusing. Yes, very. Very good. Oh my God. There aren't any four-letter words in this, are there? Oh no. Because when it came to piss off, he fell out of his chair. It wasn't me, I don't know anything about it. I thought you said there was no four-letter words. I said, well, there are. He said, what about that? B-I-Z. That's the way we spell it in Birmingham. Anyway, it's always bloody raining there, isn't it? At school, I like talking about school days. Basically because I was a complete non-entity at school. I went through the whole of my school days completely unrecognised. The only time I ever had my name in the school magazine was when, like, they print all the first formers' names in the school magazine. That is it. And I'm always interested in asking people, like, how we used to call it fagging, or fagging. It's when the first formers turn up, and, like, you know, you do the most abysmal things to them, don't you, really? Yeah, do you? Oh, we were abysmal. Really. We used to have this thing in our school called the blue goldfish. And we used to say to the first ones, hello, how are you? Fine. Have you seen the blue goldfish? No. It's over here. And we used to take him into the bog, you see. We used to point inside the lavatory pan going, the blue goldfish is in there. They go, oh, really? That's a great wheeze, that. Actually, I never caught on to it. And I was in the fifth form, and the first form was showing me the blue goldfish. I haven't seen it in 5 years, you know, really. And my best subject at school was French. I actually took the GCE mock O level in French and got 17%. They were thrilled at this score because, like, that was the highest mark anyone had ever got in French. And so they were really keen because, like, I mean, they wanted the first pass in O level in French, for the first pass in O level full stop for the school. So they put this French teacher onto me. They said, like, you know, give him special tuition, special coaching, and he was a bit weird, very odd. And he gave me all these books to read, which I couldn't make head and tail of at the time. I mean, I think I'd appreciate them now. At the time, I hadn't got a clue what it was about. You know? And in about 6 months' time, I took the GCE proper, and I hadn't really been sort of taught properly, I don't think, because I was totally unexpected for the exam. Like, I mean, when you have a GCE exam, right, you have to sit in your desk, right, and you're on your own, right. They split you up from your mate, don't they? Well, that was half the knowledge gone for a start. I mean, I used to learn the linguist and he used to learn the French. We used to put them together. And I sort of sat there and I thought, oh, this is a bit odd. And they hand you brown paper envelopes, which you can't open till the bloke at the front, the teacher with the stopwatch, says, allez. So he got up there with a stopwatch and he said, allez. And everybody started ripping open the paper envelopes to look at the exam papers, except me, because I hadn't got a clue what he was on about. And I looked around, I thought, blimey, everybody's cheating. I thought, I'll cheat as well. So I opened up my brown paper envelope and I got it out. And the whole exam paper was in French. And I thought, just my luck, isn't it, eh? Just my luck. Like, it would happen to me. Would happen, like, obviously, my counterpart in Paris has got the English paper. So I walked up to the bloke at the front. I said, "Can you translate all this, please?" And he told me to go away in French. I understood what he meant because I'd been reading these books he'd been giving me. And I just sort of sat there for 4 hours twiddling my thumbs, and just for something to do I wrote down 93 verses of the French Eskimo Nell. It's a party piece of mine, you know. And I handed that in for the exam. I couldn't think of anything else to do. And whoever the examiner was who marked it had a sense of humour because he gave me 30% and an invitation to a French stag evening. The setting here is French, isn't it? Have you noticed how the setting's very French? No, neither have I. I mean, where they get... What? Have you seen it? You can't see this, can you, from here? Can you... I mean, what is that? If you've got a gold dog, you're in, aren't you? Really? It's like something from Monty Python, isn't it? Really? Isn't that a silly programme, Monty Python? I've never been able to understand that. They go on and on and on about inane situations that could never happen in a million years. Frankly, I'm amazed anybody watches it at all, particularly when there's programmes like Opportunity Knocks and Emmerdale Farm you can get into. Why spend time on futile humour shows that simply glorify the macabre and mentally disturbed? You'd have to be a necrophiliac to watch some of the programmes I see. Who can really laugh at the idea of cutting the fur and front legs off a badger, sewing feathers on his chest, the beak on his nose and passing him off as a budgerigard? Absolutely ridiculous. And did you see that really silly football match between the London Gynecologists and the Long John Silver Impersonation Society? Well, I knew I was going to win before they even started. Particularly when the Long John Silver Impersonation Society kept falling off the parrots and squashing the crutches in the penalty area. But what really gets me is that greasy little dago, Eric Idle, the one who keeps going nudge, nudge, wink, wink, know what I mean, know what I mean, break away, break away. I've never liked him since the first days I set eyes on him. And the way he took the mickey of that poor bloke on the park bench, asking if his wife goes, know what I mean, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, does she pose for photos in the nude? Absolutely disgusting. It's amazing the BBC censorship panel didn't do something about that. It's amazing that lovely Mrs. Mary Whitehouse didn't do something about it, did that? Louis Green, bless her. They blow people to bits all over the place for no apparent reason. It's sickening the way the emphasis is always on violence with blood and guts and gore, the way they have people's eyeballs popping out the sockets, dangling down with mucus dripping off the mangled membrane, the soggy ends of limbs bashed round bare buttocks with gay abandon, the insidious descriptions of excruciating pain as they nail someone's head to the dining room floor. Why, I can hardly bear to talk about it. And then they have people eating portions of rat pie and crunchy frog dairy milk chocolates. Who writes that sort of stuff? Who watches it? My next door neighbour, that's who watches it. He's only got half a head. They found him in the middle of the M6 on Sunday practising his silly walks. I said you want to write up and try and get on the programme. They'd love you, they would, blimey. They'd probably blow you to bits in the first minute, or have you interviewing a strawberry flan asking whether he's doing it, Conservative or something. And all he did was smile, lift up his braces, put a handkerchief on his head and go, and he still watches the programme. Not that it's as good as it was, is it? Well, not that I watch it very much, of course. Well, not very often anyway. Well, once or twice this month. You take that scene where that bloke goes to that travel agency and he starts going on and on and on about people like me who like nothing more than a few days in Mallorca, sipping tea like mum mates, wanting his draft red barrel, bingo on the beach, squirting Timothy White sun cream all over me sweaty, swollen, curious flesh because I only did it on the first day, being hurt in the head. Diluting me, wanting his red barrel, spilling tea all over the place. And then where's the floor manager? Another thing, there's no paper in the bog.